meeting. We are reconvening this morning to conclude the business of the agenda of the Combined Authority Board meeting on the 25th. I will briefly set out the basis on which this meeting will operate. The new meetings regulations allow formal local government meetings to be held on a virtual basis without elected members being physically present together in the same place. In practical terms, this means the Combined Authority Board and executive committees will hold virtual meetings on the dates agreed previously by the board at our annual meeting of June 2020 or otherwise arranged. The virtual meetings will be held using Zoom meeting software. All notices and documents relating to virtual meetings will be published and circulated electronically. The conduct of virtual meetings will reflect as closely as possible the arrangements for physical meetings set out in the Combined Authority's Constitution. Voting will be dealt with by the chair asking for each voter individually how they wish to vote rather than by a show of hands. The press and public will be able to observe the meetings in real time by using a link on the meeting's webpage. Decision statements and minutes will be published in the normal way. These are temporary arrangements pending on the relaxation of social distancing requirements. If we experience any technical difficulties, I will adjourn the meeting briefly while officers try to resolve these. If a board member loses connection, I will also call a short adjournment while we try to reconnect them. If this is not possible and the meeting remains quiet, we will continue. If we become inquiet, the meeting will be adjourned and reconvened at a later date. Obviously, why we're here. We have 3 questions from the Other Viewing Scrutiny Committee on the items we'll be considering this morning. And I will invite Councillor Dupre, the chairman of the committee, to ask these when we reach the relevant point. Can I ask all board members to keep your microphones muted unless you wish to speak? This will minimise background noise. Keep your video turned on throughout the meeting to demonstrate your presence and allow everyone to follow who is speaking, using the raised hand function if you wish to speak. I will begin by calling the names members of the Combined Authority Board in alphabetical order to establish their presence for the record. Apologies have been received by Councillor Fuller, Holditch, Smith, and Over, and also Jessica Borden. In addition to myself, board members with voting rights are, please indicate you're present, Mr. Austin Adams, Chair of the Business Board.
Present.
Councillor Bailey.
Present.
Councillor Bowden.
Present.
Councillor Count.
Present.
Councillor Herbert.
Present.
And our non-voting co-opted board member is Councillor Ray Bisbee.
Present.
Good morning, Ray. Does any board member or officer wish to declare any interest in relation to today's business? Okay, members and officers can, of course, declare any interest at any point in the meeting. We begin this morning with item 6.2, the Growth Deal project proposals for November 2020. Can I remind members that when the Combined Authority takes decisions on it as an accountable body, it is committed to acting in line with our assurance framework in the interests of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough as a whole, and taking decisions based on the recommendations of the Business Board. This report contains 2 appendices which are exempt from publication under paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, in that it would not be in the public interest for this information to be disclosed, information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. And if members of the board want to discuss the information contained in those appendices, we will have to consider whether to go into private session. Does any member want to discuss the exempt appendices? No, then we will move forward with Steve Clark, the Strategic Funds Manager.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and board members. Thank you. This project has come forward after the previous project from Cambridge City Council was declined at the previous board meeting and Combined Authority board meetings in September. It was noted that they could reapply and they have done so. This is a COVID-oriented project for adaptations in Cambridge City Centre. The Business Board is recommending that this revised project, Cambridge Visitor Welcome project, applying for 710,000 of Local Growth Fund, is approved for funding, and that this funding should be subject to the conditions proposed in the external appraisers report. So in the interest of time, I'll leave it there. Does the board have any questions?
Members, Councillor Herbert.
Well, just some brief comments, given the hour of the day. The visitor economy, not just in Cambridge, but across the county, is severely damaged. We get including other people from more local destinations, over 8 million visitors, or we did in 2019. And our overseas visitor numbers are near nil, and our UK visitors have been really low. I would like to talk to the leaders of all the councils and yourself more fully about the visitor economy. When we start to see some signs of recovery, or we can see it being in a period ahead, this is an essential inward investment, an inward income earning opportunity, because we do need people to stay longer. The people who stay for 3 hours on coaches don't do Cambridge much good at all. And there is, as you know, Mayor, a lot more to Cambridge than Cambridgeshire. Sorry, there's a lot more to Cambridgeshire than Cambridge. And I just thank you for your role in getting Peterborough and Cambridge together. It is quite astonishing how much some of the staying visitors were spending in retail as well. And there clearly is an opportunity to work together, not just on the two cities, but on the market towns in terms of visitor hospitality. And despite the enormous difficulties that Tier 2 poses, we just need to be planning ahead. I could say more, but I won't. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Herbert. Mr. Adams.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I think needless to say, for all the reasons outlined there, that this proposal received unanimous and enthusiastic support from the Business Board, and the Business Board would welcome any other ideas and proposals that local authorities could put together, or special interest groups around how do we go about stimulating this. Thank you.
I think that's really, really important. And it's going to be significantly more important, of course, that we try and stimulate the economy post this seemingly never-ending nightmare that we're in. There are no further speakers. Mr. Adams, I assume you're happy to propose. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Bailey. Nobody has indicated to me that they will not be voting for it, so I will take that as the recommendations are carried unanimously. Very much. And we move on to item 6.3, the COVID-19 Economic Recovery Strategy Update. On the 9th of November 2020, the Skills Committee unanimously resolved to recommend to the Combined Authority Board that the Combined Authority Board approve the updated version of the Local Economic Recovery Strategy for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. That recommendation was subsequently withdrawn by officer decision, approved by the Chair of the Committee, as one of the appendices presented was incorrect. The correct appendices were subsequently presented to the Business Board, and the recommendation now comes to the Combined Authority via the Business Board. We have two questions on this report from over the Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Dupre, would you like to ask the first question?
Good morning. The first question is, how is the Combined Authority liaising with its constituent authorities and the Greater Cambridge Partnership on COVID recovery?
Through the Local Economic Recovery subgroup of the COVID-19 Local Recovery Forum, all our local authority partners and the GCP have been integrally involved in authoring review and recent update on the Local Economic Recovery Strategy. Councillor Prey, your second question?
Thank you. The second question is, has the impact of Brexit on future investment funding been considered? And if so, how will funds be delivered to help those impacted by Brexit?
Okay, and the impact of Brexit has not been fully analysed within the Local Economic Recovery Strategy, as the impact is not yet known. The next update of the LERS will include this analysis once the specifics of the trade deal are known and can be assessed for impact. Thank you, Councillor Dupre. Mr. Hyland, would you like to introduce the report? agenda. Is Mr. Hyland joining us?
Yes, he's with us. Mr. Hyland, could you unmute and put your video camera on, please?
Ah, there we go. Hi, Brad.
Apologies, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, members. So this morning, we're asking the Combined Authority Board to approve this updated local economic recovery strategy. Following on from the first version approved by the board on the 30th of September, this new version has been co-written by our delivery partners, Metro Dynamics, using all the available evidence-based insight and with full input also from local authority colleagues who sit on the Economic Recovery Steering Group, who have also approved this new strategy. This strategy was also unanimously approved by the Business Board on the 10th of October. And in addition, Combined Authority Board members have already received a presentation of this strategy document by Metro Dynamics at the Leaders Strategy meeting back on the 28th of October. Compared to the previous version, the main updates in this document are that the interventions have been reorganised into their current funding status and also graded on their impact during the main three stages of the recovery cycle. These stages being recover, rebound and renew. And this will help us prioritise these actions and monitor their impact. The strategy is a living document and is backed up by our COVID-19 economic impact dashboard that we're creating, which is also a live feed on the impacts. We had envisaged presenting a refreshed strategy of this also in January to report on the trajectory of our local economic recovery following the first period of national restrictions. However, because of the current second period of national restrictions we now find ourselves in, we also are proposing in this section of the meeting presenting this renewed strategy in March to reflect all the impacts that emerged through the winter and early spring. However, notwithstanding this, the team will be pressing ahead with the implementation of those funded interventions contained in the strategy, progress of which can also be presented in March. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, please, members?
Mayor, just briefly, I think there's an awful lot in this that's useful. Yes, we had a presentation from Metro Dynamics, but I just ask that the Leaders Strategy Group walks through the table from page 370 and also the details after 396. I also think there's potential for more area-based proposals. I appreciate the need for us to work across the whole geography in a united way, and that ably added to by Aidan and the board, but I just see the benefit in us also, including in bouncing back from the epidemic, see the need for us to forge stronger partnerships in the three areas that Spear identified. I've kept it brief.
Thank you, Councillor Herbert. Any other comments, members? Mr. Adams, do you have I assume you are proposing, so therefore.
Indeed, James, but before we move to the proposal, given Brian's comment about bringing the next update to the board in March, I would like to note, I'd like us to note the next economic recovery strategy for Cambridge and Peterborough refresh will be brought to the board in March 21 rather than January as previously proposed, and add that as a final recommendation.
Okay, thank you. We're quite happy to do that, I'm sure. So Austin has proposed. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Bowden. Again, nobody has indicated that they would not be prepared to support this, so we will take that forward as a unanimous vote. Item 6.4 is a Business Board annual report for 1920 and the annual delivery plan for 2021. Austin, would you like to say a few words on this, or are you happy for officers to introduce the report?
I'm very happy.
We seem to have lost Austin mid-flow, but Austin, unfortunately, we lost you. But I think you were saying you were very happy for the officers to introduce the report.
Yeah, sorry, my screen went black for a moment. I'm very happy for the officers to introduce the report. I would like to say, if I may, just to put on record, just reflecting back over the last 12 months when I saw the draft of this report, it's quite breathtaking, I think, what has been achieved over that period of time. And that is, you know, I personally take no credit for that, and neither do the business board. The hard work that's done here is by John T. Hill and his team. And I think we all owe a debt of gratitude to John and his team for the hard work that they've put in over the last 12 months, not only to keep us on track with many of the initiatives that are really the foundations for delivering the growth going forward, but to do that in the current climate with all the curveballs that have been thrown at us over the last 12 months is quite remarkable. Thank you, John.
Yes, and I think we all echo that.
Absolutely. I think they've done a great job.
Well, they really have. There's no doubt about that. So from there we go on to one of the team, Domenico, to introduce the report. Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor, and thank you. Good morning, board. Austin, thank you for the introduction. That was very kind, thank you. Just to kind of add to that, can I just mention that as the region's local economic partnership, the business board is required to publish an annual report and delivery plan each year. This is in line with the National Assurance Framework, and the plan and the report have been attached to the report. In the interest of time, I won't go into the detail of the report, but I will say that the business board has recommended that the Combined Authority does approve this so it can be published and submitted to BASE. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Domenico. Members, any comments? Councillor Bowden.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning. I was a little bit puzzled about this. Either the agenda is wrong or the link is wrong, because I think the agenda says that Appendix 1 is the board annual delivery plan for 21-22, but the link goes to the delivery plan for 2021. So I was a little bit confused about that. And if there is a delivery plan for 21-22, I'd be very grateful if that could be circulated. But more generally than that, it is highlighted in here, and it's completely correct, that productivity, which is a base issue that we've got in terms of driving economic growth in the area, that productivity cannot rise without addressing relative deprivation in education. And no one can doubt that is true. And there is a long list available of the interventions which are taking place to try to redress that. How are we intending to measure the success of that? I see the inputs we're putting in. I'm interested in the outputs. What are we expecting to change, and when are we expecting it to change? And the reason I'm saying that is I fear that there may be unreasonable expectations of this being a quick win. And whilst with retraining, there are things which can be done fairly quickly, I'm concerned that the overall relative variation in deprivation in education, I'm very concerned that that is going to be a very long process to be redressed.
Absolutely. Mr. Hill, are you indicated to come in? Yes.
Sorry, Mayor, I'll use my electronic hand next time. Thank you, Councillor Bowden. Yes, you're quite right. That most of the very ambitious goals put down in the LIS that are based on our SPEAR report are long-term goals. The interventions we've put in place will make real and significant progress over the next 3 years. Most of the programs are a 3-year horizon, but all of them will start showing impacts and outcomes in the next 12 months. There'll be a great deal of outputs in the next 12 months. For instance, more people in Finland engaged in adult education, more of the budget for adult education going into Finland than previously, more qualifications. They're all great and they're all outputs, they're not outcomes. The outcomes will come when those people get into jobs and get into better jobs and progress through their careers. And similarly with the business growth service, over the next 12 months, we'll be engaging something in the region of 100 companies in Finland as an example. and helping them grow and investing in their growth. However, the outcomes will probably be coming in 2021, 22, when the jobs actually start to drop out of those interventions. So we're very mindful of the difference between activity, outputs, and then outcomes. We will be launching most of our programs that will give us activity from pretty much next month. We will be getting outputs during the course of next year, and we hope to be getting outcomes in terms of jobs and career progression in 21, 22. Excuse me, 22.
Councillor Bowden, it looks like you wish to come back.
If I may, yes, please. I was just beginning to nod my head when John said that we could expect to see the outcomes in 20, and then he went on to say 21, 22. I thought he was going to say in 20 years' time, because I'm not making a funny point about this. I do appreciate that we've got some short-term interventions here, which will have some short-term and quick results, and that's all very good. But what I'm really asking to be addressed here is the question of when do we expect the stark difference in deprivation in education? When do we expect that sharp difference will actually be reduced significantly, if not eliminated? And I personally can't see that happening quickly. And I can see that the heat map that we've got about relative deprivation of education, I can see that heat map looking pretty much the same as it does now in 5, 10, or even 15 years' time. And I hope I'm being pessimistic here, and I'm looking to Mr. Hill to tell me that I'm wrong and that things will improve before that in terms of the relative deprivation in education across the combined authority area.
Indeed, Councillor, it is my mission and my job to make it so. And we have skewed the funding for adult education into Fenland and Peterborough. We are lobbying really hard for the new lifetime skills guarantee funding, which is basically A-level, level 3 funding, which could be worth 20–25 million pounds a year to us. If we get that, we will also be looking to redistribute that in the ways that that make an impact on that heat map that you refer to, which makes depressing viewing. But of course, you are right. We have interventions that will create jobs in the north, higher value jobs, increase productivity and increase skills. But for sure, that heat map will take time. The university will help, but certainly 5 years we might get a result or an indication, a measurable difference. 10 years before it really changes.
Mr. Adams.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair question, and we shouldn't kid ourselves here that, you know, it's like turning an oil tank around. This is not a quick fix. What we can take some comfort from, I think, is I do think, and certainly the business board think we're fighting on many fronts, doing lots of different things. There was a request at the earlier meeting on another point to provide a map to show where the investment is being made, and I think that would paint quite an interesting picture to overlay that with respect to the heat map showing the social deprivation and the education issues. I think we'd see a reasonable alignment. I'd certainly like to think I'd like to hope that would be the case based on just anecdotal evidence in my head of where the money's been spent and on what. Let's share that map and let's see what that looks like. And I think we have to be patient and we have to just be very tenacious doing all of the right things.
I have no further speakers on this, and Mr. Adams will be proposing from the chair. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Bailey. And again, as nobody has indicated that they are against this, we will take it as unanimously carried. So thank you very much indeed. And again, thank you all members of the team for your hard work.
Thank you.
Item 6.5 is a report on the IMET project Local Growth Fund Recovery. This report contains 7 appendices which were exempt from publication under paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, in that it would not be in the public interest for this information to be disclosed, information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding the information. If any members of the board want to discuss the information contained in those appendices, we will need to consider whether to go into private session. Does any member want to discuss the exempt appendices? No, so we'll go straight on to Steve Clark again. Steve.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. So this paper is seeking approval of the partial recovery of the local growth fund that was invested into the legacy project IMET Vocational Training Centre at Alconbury Weald. The project is now closed. It closed down in April. And the Combined Authority is asked to approve a refocusing of the existing legal grant funding agreement to enable the equipment that was also paid for from the investment to be utilised to continue outcomes with the current and future cohorts of learners. The recommendations from the Business Board are for a stepped approach through delegated authority to secure agreements with the leaseholder and the landlord for cooperation on the successful disposal of the asset and for repatriation of any sales receipts to the Combined Authority. So in the interests of keeping it brief, I will stop, and Peter Geach and I will take any questions that board members may have.
Members, any questions? There are no questions, so we will go to the vote. Mr. Adams, you're proposing. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Bowden, and therefore that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. The last report on today's agenda is item 6.6, the Kickstart Scheme. Laura Guymer, Apprenticeship Levy Advisor, will be introducing the report. Laura.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, board members. Agenda item 6.6 is the Kickstart Scheme, and we are seeking recommendation from the Combined Authority Board to approve the Business Growth Service to act as a gateway organisation to administer the Kickstart Scheme, and for the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough area and for them to approve the Growth Service Act as the primary referral partner for any Kickstart requests that come into the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough area. Proposals were considered by the Business Board on the 10th of November, and they resolved unanimously to recommend the Business Growth Service Act as the gateway organisation and the primary referral partner. Recommendations were also considered by the Skills Committee on the 9th of November, who endorsed the proposals unanimously. Thank you for your time. Happy to take questions.
Okay. Any comments, members, please? No. Okay. Thank you very much. So we will go to the vote. Mr. Adams will be proposing again. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bailey. So that again is carried unanimously. I thank you very much. I know there's inconvenience in this morning meeting, and I thank you for joining so early. Also, I know that members of the press have had to get out early and have been mentioning it on Twitter. So apologies to them as well. We will be looking at the best options of how to slim down our agendas, and we will be discussing that as leaders, as members of the Combined Authority Board, and I hope that we will be able to make some impact on that. However, I make no apology for the exceptional amount of work that has been dealt with in the two meetings, and I make no apology apart from thanks to the members of staff for the work that they have done in putting these agendas together, and also I'm extraordinarily proud yet again of the work that this Combined Authority has done and the achievements that with the Business Board that we have made in impacting on the lives of the people of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough area. So thank you all. Before you go, I would like to introduce Mr. Bisbee, the Acting Police and Crime Commissioner, who's just got a statement he would like to make.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this is not on your agenda, but I thought it was important, and so asked the permission from the Mayor to bring this to you. Businesses locally, regionally and nationally have been seeing a rise in aggression verbal and physical abuse in their businesses, especially customer-facing businesses. The Police and Crime Commissioners have seen this, and together through the Sussex Police and Crime Commissioner, there's been a toolkit produced. The toolkit is called Keeping Christmas Kind. There are resources on that kit which will help with videos, social media graphics, template press releases, posters, email banners, and audio files. This will be sent out to all our partners and as many businesses as possible. And if you can share it once you get it with all your partners who have businesses that are customer facing, please do. I don't think anybody should be going into work and feeling that they can be abused either verbally or physically. And as such, I would actually support business people being protected by a specific law as is available for the government to bring in. So thank you very much for allowing me to bring this to you. It is on my website if you wish to go to it, but we'll try and get it to you. And especially coming up to Christmas, I think it's really important. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you to everybody. I believe that some of us are staying on the call, but to everybody else, thank you very much.
Mayor, I understand that there's a new invite for the other meeting.